If you're on Dynamics Navision today, it's time to make that natural upgrade into Dynamics 365 Business Central. What a lot of customers don't realize is that Microsoft actually stopped supporting Navision in January of 2023. That means you're vulnerable when it comes to security. Today, I'm going to walk you through what that process looks like, upgrading from Navision into D365 Business Central, and how we can help. My name's Zach Karhalitz. I'm the Director of Business Development here at Bolt Technologies, and I'm going to walk you through what that upgrade process looks like. If you're still running on Navision today, that means you're living in the past. You need to go ahead and look at that process from upgrading from Navision into Dynamics 365 Business Central. As I mentioned earlier, Microsoft no longer supports Navision. That happened in January of 2023. Additionally, you're going to be very vulnerable when it comes to security. On top of that, you're missing out on all sorts of capabilities within Dynamics 365 Business Central, whether it's AI, advanced planning capabilities, warehousing, all sorts of other additional tools. Lastly, you're definitely going to want to make that move from those clunky on-prem hardware into the modern cloud-based ERP. So today, we're going to walk you through that process. When making the move from Navision to Dynamics 365 Business Central, there's several different ways you can handle these implementations. Obviously, you have the lift and shift model, where you just take the processes, the data that you have within Navision, and move it into Business Central. That's not what I would recommend though. These implementations are hard, they're complex, and they take a generally long period of time to go through. It's important that you actually get the rewards out of this. So let's look at actually improving those processes, introducing new capabilities, as well as cleansing your data. So what we're going to do is that first phase of the project is go through and diagnose you. This is like a doctor's appointment where we get an understanding for the functional and technical scope of the implementation. What type of processes are you running in Navision today? Are you just doing finance? Are you doing purchasing, sales? Maybe you're doing manufacturing. We need to understand what that looks like. Then we move into our technical scope, or our 4 waterfall tasks. Our integrations, so is your Navision environment integrated into any other peripheral systems? Your reports, I'm sure you have critical reports that you run on daily, weekly, maybe even monthly bases. We need to make sure that those reports are replicated in Business Central. You additionally then have your extensions or ISVs. So as part of these implementations, we always run into Navision environments where you have extended or customized it, or you're utilizing an independent software vendor. We need to understand those processes, see if it can be replaced by out-of-the-box Business Central, and if not, then identify how we're going to handle that, whether that's by changing the process to meet out-of-the-box capabilities, extending the system, or introducing an independent software vendor. Finally, you have the data migration. Data migration is really one of the first key steps of this process. We need to identify what data is coming over and how it's coming over. So which customers, which vendors, which items, our chart of accounts. For financial, we always want to bring over any open transactions, but we also want to understand how we're going to handle the historical. Our general recommendation is 3 years financial historical summary level data. That being said, every customer has different requirements. We'll work with you to identify that. Once we've gone through, we've fully identified our functional and technical scope for the project, we then move into the actual design phase. And this is where we actually get into building the processes that you have within Navision in Dynamics 365 Business Central. Generally, we look to improve those processes, introduce new tools, capabilities as well. We have done several of these implementations of these upgrades from Navision to Dynamics 365 Business Central. We've worked with customers who have extremely customized and extended Navision environments. We've worked with customers who have very standard, basic Navision environments. When you have the basic processes, generally, that makes the implementation easier. That being said, if you have a customized Navision environment, that's not a red flag by any means. What we'll do is we'll go through and we'll identify every extension in the tables and fields within your Navision environment. We'll go through these extensions and say, okay, some of these can be replaced by out-of-the-box Dynamics 365 Business Central capabilities. Maybe some of the customizations or extensions that you have in the environment you're no longer using. Additionally, we'll look and see if there are any independent software vendors out there that we can build into Business Central to replace those extensions. Finally, one of the first things we will do on top of all of that is to make sure that if a process is extended within Navision, is there any way to change that process to actually make it out of the box, right? That being said, a lot of our customers have some sort of process that they run that's so specific to their business that they have to continue utilizing. In that instance, we will look to utilize an extension or an ISV. It's like renovating a house when you're still living in it. The structure's sound, but the wiring, the plumbing, it's all set to an older standard. What you need is someone to come in and upgrade that to the future, to the current standards that are out there. And this is something that we'll do while you're running the business the entire time as well. Obviously, the more up-to-date version you're on, the easier the upgrade from Navision to Dynamics 365 Business Central is going to be. That being said, if you're running a product like Navision 2009, it doesn't necessarily mean that this is going to make it more complex than a customer who's running something like Navision 2015. There's steps that we can take to make that upgrade path easier for each process. So long story short, yes and no. It really just depends on the capabilities and the processes you're running in the system. We'll make sure to identify what that would look like and ultimately get you to a successful go live. The longer you wait, the further you're getting to Dynamics 365 Business Central. Microsoft rolls out updates to BC every 6 weeks with 2 major updates a year. As they make these updates, Navision and Dynamics 365 Business Central are getting different. There's new processes, new capabilities. It makes the migration process more difficult. We need to make sure that we're setting you up for success. So the sooner you run these implementations, these upgrades, the easier the project will be. Additionally, on top of that, we mentioned that Microsoft stopped supporting the product in 2023. Every day, every week, every month that goes by, your security and vulnerability is getting more at risk. Lastly, the technical debt. As you're supporting Navision, every dollar you spend is something that you're going to have to spend on the Dynamics 365 implementation as well. So maybe you create a new report within Navision, or you go and you add an extension, or you're adding new records, new files, new items, customers. This makes the implementation and upgrade more complex. So you're actually double dipping when you're making that investment. It adds scope to the project. So go ahead, rip the Band-Aid off. Let's talk. Let's help you navigate through that upgrade and make the change into Business Central. If you've been thinking about making the move from Navision to Dynamics 365 Business Central, stop waiting. Go ahead, reach out to us here at Volt Technologies, and we'll help guide you through that process. We're more than happy to take you through a free consultation of what that process would look like. Going through a discovery, understanding what your Navision environment looks like, and ultimately coming back to you with what that timeline, resource structure, and budget would look like. If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe. And if there's anything we can ever do to help in the future, just reach out.